This is the final IPSEC session. We're going to see how to configure IPSEC with IQ version 2 with Cisco. We're going to include what is FLEXVPN, FLEXVPN building blocks, FLEXVPN defaults, and we are going to do a lab. Cisco has a product that is known as FLEXVPN that natively uses IQ version 2. This is a good thing because remember that IQ version 1 has reached its end of life by now. So it is a Cisco new approach where you have a unified set of commands that will let you create site-to-site VPNs, remote access VPN, and hub and spoke to-spoke VPN. So it supports DM VPNs as well. In order to configure FlexVPN, you will need to use these building blocks. For phase 1, you will need first to configure proposals. Each proposal will have a combination of an encryption algorithm, a hashing algorithm, and a Diffie-Hellman group. Then you will have to create a policy. A policy needs to have at least one proposal, but you may have as many proposals as you want. Then for phase 2, you will need to create your transform set. Each transform set select a particular IPSEC transport protocol such as AH or ESP, an encryption algorithm, and a hashing algorithm. Then you will need to provide authentication information. So for instance, if we were using pre-shared keys, these keys will be stored in a key ring. This key ring is referenced by the next step that is known as an IQ version 2 profile. Within the IQ version 2 profile, you can select your authentication method. Remember that when using IQ version 2, we can use asymmetric authentication. So for instance, your device may authenticate to other remote devices using pre-shared key, whereas some remote devices may authenticate to you using EAP, for instance, or some other devices may use signed certificates. Given we now have the freedom to use EAP, we can configure now a radio server, and the identities of devices may no longer need to be IP addresses, they may be email addresses. We can configure BRFs, and then we are going to configure an IPSEC profile that may use a particular transform set and a particular IQ version 2 profile. Finally, we are going to apply this profile to either a particular tunnel interface or to a virtual template. With virtual templates, you are going to create tunnel interfaces on the fly as remote users are building remote access VPN to this device. The good news for FlexVPN is that there are many existing defaults. So for instance, for phase 1, you may choose not to configure any proposal at all because there is already one default proposal configured previously. You may choose not to configure a policy because there is a default policy already in place that uses the default proposal. For phase 2, you may choose not to configure any IPSEC transform because there is already a default transform set created. There is also a default IPSEC profile that references the default transform set and references a default IQ version 2 profile. So the only thing that you have to configure is the key ring and an IQ version 2 profile that you have to name default. Finally, you have to apply this IPSEC profile that is named default to either a particular tunnel interface or to a virtual template. Let's build a FlexVPN between router 1 and router 2. They have this IP addressing. We already have a tunnel configured in place. So let's ping the other side of the tunnel to see that we don't have protection in place. We only have GRE. So let's build a FlexVPN with the default building blocks. So the only thing that we have to do on router 1 is configuring a key ring referencing router 2, and then we have to create a crypto IQ version 2 profile with the name default. So we have to use this name, and then we have to apply the IPSEC profile to the tunnel. Let's do that on the other side. We have to create first the key ring that references router 1 and then we are going to create the IQ version 2 profile that has the name default. It has to have that name. And then we are going to apply the IPSEC profile that references this IQ version 2 profile to the tunnel. So after doing so, we can check the phase 1 security association that is up using show crypto IQ version 2, and the phase 2 security association is up. Now if we ping the other device, it should be protected. It is protected now by IPSEC. So in summary, what we saw in this session was what is FLEXVPN, what are FLEXVPN building blocks, what are FLEXVPN defaults, so you don't have to configure everything from scratch. You may use several of already pre-existing FLEXVPN settings, and we saw how to configure a FLEXVPN between two routers using these defaults.